Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're heading to the Philippines, El Nido to be exact. You know those incredible lagoons and island hopping tours you see everywhere? Well, we're going to see if one of the most popular tours there lives up to the hype.
Sounds awesome. Which tour are we looking at?
We're diving into Klook's El Nido Tour A. It's a bestseller with like thousands of reviews, so we got to see what all the fuss is about.
Definitely. It's always good to check those reviews, especially for something as popular as El Nido.
Right. Okay, so Tour A. It's basically a guided boat tour that takes you through some of the most iconic spots in El Nido, like the Big Lagoon, Secret Lagoon, Shimizu Island for lunch, and then Seven Commando Beach.
Okay, so the classic El Nido experience hitting all the highlights.
Exactly. And imagine kayaking through the Big Lagoon with those massive limestone cliffs surrounding you.
Oh yeah, the photos would be incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of photos, a lot of the reviews mention bringing a proper waterproof camera.
Yeah.
Not just those phone pouches.
Makes sense if you're serious about getting good underwater shots,
Yeah.
especially with all the snorkeling opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. Some reviewers raved about the snorkeling at Big Lagoon Island, saying it was amazing, but then others said Shimizu Island was kind of underwhelming.
Interesting. So maybe the snorkeling quality is a bit hit or miss, depending on the spot.
Yeah, could be. But hey, at least the tour itself seems pretty affordable.
Oh, for sure. It's listed on Klook for like US $16.19. It was originally over 20 bucks, but it's discounted right now.
Wow, that's a steal for a full day guided tour with lunch included.
I know, right? But hold on, I saw in one review that kayaking in the Big Lagoon is an extra 500 pesos.
Ah, so there's always those little extra costs that can sneak up on you.
Totally. But it sounds like it might be worth it for that kayak experience.
Yeah, especially if you're into those adventurous activities.
Speaking of options, it looks like Klook offers different group sizes for this tour. So you can go solo or with a group of up to 10 people.
Oh, that's cool. So it caters to different travel styles.
Yeah, exactly. And they even have regular and premium packages. Well, I'm not entirely sure what the difference is.
Yeah, those details are a bit vague.
Maybe it's a surprise. But hey, if you're really feeling fancy, there's always the option to book a private tour.
Now that you mention it, let's see what people are actually saying about Tour A in the reviews. We've got over 4,000 reviews with an average rating of 4.5 out of 5. That's got to mean something, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty solid endorsement.
Yeah.
Some reviewers called it Paradise Found. They were raving about the knowledgeable tour guides and said it was the best island tour they'd ever been on.
That's awesome. And several people mentioned that the boat was nice, big, and clean. Always a good sign.
For sure. But like with any popular tour, there are always a few hiccups.
Oh, yeah. What kind of things do people complain about?
One reviewer mentioned some initial disorganization because of overbooking. They eventually got sorted out, but it makes you wonder if peak season might be a bit chaotic.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes things don't always go perfectly according to plan.
Definitely. But speaking of things not going to plan, a lot of reviewers stress the importance of bringing a dry bag. Apparently, you're going to get wet at some stops, so protecting your valuables is crucial.
Oh, yeah, that's a must. I learned that the hard way once. Let's just say my phone didn't survive.
Ouch. Okay, dry bag it is. So besides the stunning scenery and the occasional splash, what else are people saying about Tour A?
Well, a lot of the reviews talk about managing expectations, having a realistic idea of what to expect.
That's so important. What specifically should people be aware of?
Well, remember those reviewers who were calling it Paradise Found? They went before El Nido became super popular. So now there are way more crowds, which can kind of impact the experience.
That's true. It's definitely something to consider. If you're looking for a totally serene and secluded experience, Tour A might not be the best fit.
Exactly. It's more of a lively and bustling kind of vibe.
Right. So it all comes down to your personal travel style and preferences.
Absolutely. But we've covered a lot already, and there's still so much more to uncover about Tour A.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Ready to dive even deeper.
Definitely. Let's see what else makes this tour tick and whether it's truly worth adding to your El Nido itinerary. Before we get too worried about the crowds, we gotta remember, most of the reviews for Tour A are super positive. People can't stop talking about how gorgeous the lagoons and beaches are, especially those limestone cliffs and the crystal clear water.
It's like something out of a movie, right?
Totally. And a lot of people say it's a really good value for the money. You get a full day of exploring all these iconic locations, plus a knowledgeable guide, lunch is included, and you get boat transportation. All for under 20 bucks.
Yeah, that's a pretty sweet deal. I'm thinking about that kayak rental for the Big Lagoon, so it's an extra 500 pesos. Imagine paddling through those cliffs and all those hidden coves.
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But I guess it depends on your budget, right?
For sure. Some people might be okay with spending a little extra for that experience, while others might want to stick to the included activities.
Exactly. It's all about those personal preferences. And you know what? While Tour A seems like a great overview of El Nido's highlights, it might not be the best fit for everyone.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, if you're someone who really loves off the beaten path adventures, or you have specific interests like diving, or maybe you want to really immerse yourself in the local culture, there might be better tours out there for you.
That's a good point. Tour A is kind of like a sampler platter. It gives you a taste of everything.
Right, exactly. It's like hitting all the greatest hits of El Nido, which is perfect for a lot of travelers, especially first-timers. But if you have something super specific in mind, you might need to do a little more research.
Okay, so let's say someone's convinced and they want to book Tour A. What tips can we give them to make the most of their experience? We've talked about the dry bag and the waterproof camera, but anything else?
Yeah, one thing that came up a lot in the reviews is to do your research beforehand. You know, like know what to expect at each stop.
Right, so you're not disappointed if the snorkeling isn't amazing at every single spot.
Exactly. Like read up on the history of Seven Commando Beach or learn about those crazy rock formations in the Big Lagoon. It'll make the experience way more meaningful.
It's like having a mental map before you even get there.
Right. And speaking of maps, one reviewer suggested bringing a waterproof map of the area so you can kind of visualize the route and see where you are.
Oh, that's a good idea, especially for people who love maps.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it might come in handy if you decide to explore on your own after the tour.
Ooh, now you're talking. We've been so focused on Tour A itself. What about the bigger picture of exploring El Nido? Did the reviews mention anything about that?
That's such a good question. And it brings me to a really important point. Tour A is a great introduction to El Nido's most famous spots, but it's just one small part of what El Nido has to offer.
I love that. So what other parts should people consider exploring?
Well, El Nido is known for its incredible marine life. So if you're a big snorkeling or diving enthusiast, you might want to look into other tours, or even venture out on your own to some less crowded dive sites.
You know, a lot of the reviews mentioned how friendly and welcoming the locals are. It seems like connecting with the local culture is a big part of the El Nido experience.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something that Tour A might not focus on too much. So if that's important to you, you might want to consider things like homestays, visiting local markets, or even just striking up conversations with the people you meet.
It's like Tour A gives you a taste of El Nido's beauty, but then it's up to you to create your own adventure.
Exactly. And that leads us to a really big question. What are you hoping to get out of your trip to El Nido? Are you looking to relax and soak up the scenery? Do you want adventure and excitement? Are you interested in the culture? Or maybe a mix of everything?
It's like figuring out your travel personality.
Right. And once you know that, it'll be easier to choose the right activities and experiences for you. Who knows? You might even discover some hidden gems that aren't in any guidebook.
That's what makes traveling so fun. You never know what you're going to find. All right, so we've talked about all the amazing things Tour A has to offer, but we've also touched on some potential downsides, like the crowds and the fact that it's not for everyone. So final verdict, is it worth it?
You know, based on everything we've seen and all those reviews, it seems like a really solid choice for first-timers in El Nido, especially if you just want a taste of those iconic spots, like the Big Lagoon and the Secret Lagoon.
Yeah, you get those picture-perfect views and a well-organized tour. But it's not just about checking things off a list.
Oh, definitely not. It's about the experience, the memories you create.
Exactly. And it sounds like Tour A can be a great starting point for deeper explorations.
Yeah.
When it gives you a glimpse of what El Nido has to offer. And then you can go from there.
Right. It sparks that curiosity, makes you want to see more, discover more.
I like that. It's like the first bite of an amazing meal. You just want to keep eating.
Haha. Perfect analogy. But hey, before you book that tour, remember those practical tips?
Oh yeah, the dry bag is a must. And if you're into underwater photography, definitely invest in a decent waterproof camera.
And don't forget to do a little research beforehand, like we talked about. It'll make the experience so much richer.
And for those map lovers, grab a waterproof map. You never know when you might want to venture off the beaten path.
Most importantly, though, pack your sense of adventure. Be open to new experiences. El Nido is full of surprises.
Totally. You might find a hidden beach or a secret waterfall, or meet someone who shares their love for this incredible place.
Exactly. Those are the moments that make traveling so special.
So to all our listeners out there, if you're dreaming of turquoise waters, dramatic limestone cliffs, and an adventure that's a little bit different, El Nido Tour A can be your ticket.
But remember, it's just the beginning. Let it inspire you to explore, to create your own El Nido story.
And hey, if you discover something truly amazing, come back and share it with us. We love hearing about your adventures.
That's right. Until then, happy travels, everyone.
Safe travels. And that wraps up another deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure.